Welcome to World Prism. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon for more breaking updates. Right, let's talk about Switzerland, a country famous for its centuries-old neutrality, world-class chocolate, and precision watches. But beneath the picturesque mountains and luxury boutiques, Switzerland is also a powerhouse in global finance and trade, quietly moving billions in precious metals across borders every year. But on August 7, 2025, that legendary neutrality collided head-on with a wave of American chaos, sending shock waves through both countries' economies. The Trump administration, citing a ballooning trade deficit and growing frustration over what it called unfair practices, slapped a staggering 39% tariff on Swiss imports, more than double the rate imposed on goods from the European Union. The move was sudden, and the scale was unprecedented. The real shock came the very next day. U.S. customs officials announced that the new tariff would also apply to Swiss gold bars, the backbone of the global precious metals trade, and a product usually considered above the fray of ordinary goods. Gold, long treated as a financial asset and a safe haven for investors, was suddenly reclassified as just another taxable commodity. This upended decades of established practice and caught traders completely off guard. Markets went haywire. Gold futures in New York soared to record highs almost overnight, as traders scrambled to make sense of the new rules. Confusion reigned. Did this apply to all gold? Only certain bars? Nobody seemed to know for sure, and the uncertainty only fueled the frenzy. The price gap between New York and London gold exploded, reflecting not just the new cost, but also the deep uncertainty gripping the market. For the first time in years, the world's gold trade was split in two. Christoph Wild, a leading figure in the Swiss gold industry, summed it up. A 39% tariff would effectively slam the door on gold bar exports to the US, threatening jobs and upending long-standing business relationships. This wasn't just a trade spat. It was a direct hit to the very heart of the US-Swiss relationship, a partnership built on trust and dominated by the flow of gold. The golden goose of Swiss gold exports had just been handed a massive tax bill, and the world was left wondering what would happen next. Why Switzerland? Why does this small landlocked country account for 39% of the US trade deficit with just one commodity? In early 2025, the White House pointed to a staggering $47.8 billion trade deficit with Switzerland in just 6 months, raising alarms in Washington and beyond. But this story isn't about iconic Swiss watches or world-famous cheese. The real driver is gold, lots of it. Swiss gold exports to the US skyrocketed to $36 billion in early 2025, fueled by global economic uncertainty, investor anxiety, and a dramatic surge in gold prices. As a result, the US posted record trade deficits with Switzerland, but when gold imports slowed, the numbers flipped, and the US suddenly reported record surpluses. The trade balance swung wildly, not because of changes in consumer demand or manufacturing, but because of the unpredictable behavior of gold investors and global markets. Trying to manage this with tariffs or trade policy is like measuring a pool's water level during a tsunami, completely futile and misleading. Swiss officials argue that counting the full value of gold in trade statistics distorts the real picture, making the deficit look much larger than it truly is. In reality, Swiss refiners don't own the gold, they simply process it for a fee, acting as middlemen in a global supply chain. Counting $36 billion as a Swiss export is like calling the New York Stock Exchange's annual revenue the total value of all stocks traded there. It's a misleading comparison. This approach misrepresents the true economic relationship between the US and Switzerland, exaggerating the impact of gold flows. The volatility in these numbers is statistical, not structural. It reflects accounting quirks, not fundamental shifts in trade. So while the numbers may look alarming at first glance, the reality behind the headlines is far more nuanced and complex than it appears. If gold acts like money, why is it counted as a good in trade stats? It's a quirk of international accounting. Central bank gold is a financial asset, but investment-grade bars are classified as goods. So, a gold bar crossing borders is treated like a car or a phone, not a financial instrument. This distorts trade numbers. Billions in gold flow through Switzerland, but it's not a typical export. Economists argue the rules should change. Treating gold as a good makes trade stats volatile and misleading. The US tariff leans into this outdated classification, taxing a financial transaction as if it were a manufactured product. It's like imposing an import duty on shipments of dollar bills. Switzerland is just an intermediary, not the true source of the gold's value. The policy highlights the absurdity of current trade accounting. For Switzerland, these tariffs are more than a headache, they threaten the economy. The US is a vital trading partner, and the tariffs hit not just gold, but watches, pharmaceuticals, and precision instruments. A 39% price hike in a major market is a severe blow, risking recession and job losses. Swiss businesses feel unfairly punished for gold flows they don't control. The government has avoided immediate retaliation, focusing on relief for exporters and hoping for diplomacy. But frustration is rising, with some politicians calling for countermeasures like export duties on precious metals. Switzerland's famed stability is under pressure, both economically and politically. The crisis is testing the country's consensus-driven approach. The stakes are high for Swiss industry and national identity. Switzerland tried to resolve the crisis with diplomacy. President Karen Keller-Sutter led a delegation to Washington, offering to lower tariffs to 10% and facilitate a $150 billion US investment. These were major concessions from a long-standing ally, but the reception was icy. No meeting with President Trump, only Secretary of State Marco Rubio. The White House wasn't interested in negotiation. The Swiss proposal was ignored, and the tariffs remained. The failed talks sent a clear message. Even allies can't count on dialogue. The US response was dictate, not discussion. Switzerland returned home empty-handed, facing harsh economic realities. The diplomatic path had hit a dead end. These tariffs are part of a broader America First pattern: unilateral moves, global uncertainty, and disrupted alliances. Ironically, this unpredictability fueled the gold rush that inflated the trade deficit in the first place. The administration's actions made investors nervous, driving them to buy gold, then punished Switzerland for the resulting numbers. Communication from Washington only deepened confusion, with talk of executive orders and shifting explanations. For allies like Switzerland, it's a nightmare. Rules change overnight and planning becomes impossible. The gold tariff is a microcosm of this new reality, policy driven by questionable stats and aggressive rhetoric. No trade relationship is safe from sudden intervention. The world is watching and worrying. What's next? The world is watching closely as the gold market faces one of its most turbulent moments in recent history. With talks failed and tariffs in place, Switzerland faces tough choices. Should it keep negotiating, support its exporters, or retaliate against new trade barriers? Each option carries significant risks and could reshape the country's economic future. The gold market is split. New York prices have decoupled from London, creating both chaos and opportunity for traders and investors. This divergence is sending shockwaves through the financial world. Buyers may turn to Canada or Australia, seeking new sources of gold as they look to bypass the uncertainty in Switzerland. This shift could challenge Swiss dominance in refining, threatening a business that has been central to the nation's identity for decades. This crisis could finally force a rethink of how gold is counted in trade stats, exposing flaws in the current system and prompting calls for reform. Reclassifying investment gold as a financial asset rather than a simple commodity would prevent future crises like this and bring much-needed clarity to global trade. The Switzerland gold shock is about more than tariffs. It's about old rules clashing with new politics and the struggle to adapt to a rapidly changing world. It exposes the fragility of global supply chains, showing how quickly disruptions can ripple across continents and industries. The risks of political overreach are real, as leaders weigh short-term gains against long-term stability and trust. For the US and Switzerland, the path forward is uncertain: negotiation or conflict, compromise or escalation. The decisions made now will echo for years. For the world, it's a warning: no asset, not even gold, is safe from the forces of geopolitics. The story isn't over, and the stakes are global. The next chapter in gold and trade is just beginning, and its outcome will shape the future of international finance.